A lot of sales leaders are really reluctant to let go of someone who's underperforming on their team. There are many reasons for this, and they can include personal connections, the faith that the performance will just improve on its own, and sometimes it's just a feeling that it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. The problem is, underperforming sales reps can have a serious, if not catastrophic, effect on your overall sales performance. I thought I'd run you through a Sandler worksheet which can point you in the direction of the financial impact that your poor performance are currently having on your business. Basically, the worksheet is pretty simple, but we've got to do a little bit of basic maths along the way. So, we need to start off looking at the advertising and other activities that are being used to promote the potential vacancy that you have. Now, this is quite hard to quantify in real terms, as it depends on the channels you use to attract candidates, and it could be as little as £0 or it could be thousands of pounds. The average is probably about £250 for a simple post on a job hosting website. For this example, I'm going to suggest that we're going to spend about £1,000 on our advertising and marketing around the role. The next thing we need to look at is the number of applicants that we'd like to evaluate on average for a sales role that we have available. Again, you might work with a very small candidate pool because you're really confident that you can spot talent. Alternatively, a common practice is to go for 5 or 6 candidates because this gives you a good range. I'm going to go for 6 applicants in our example. The next thing we've got to do is think about how much does it actually cost us to interview each candidate. This will depend on the venue. Are we doing it in-house or are we using external venues for the interviews? But it definitely includes the time that a manager or managers devotes to the interviewing of the 6 candidates, but also includes the opportunity cost of their time while they're undertaking recruiting activity. It's quite difficult to calculate this, but if we keep it simple and just look at the direct cost per hour for the manager, which I've calculated is about £36.93 for salary, and then an additional £284 an hour for opportunity cost. And these are based on the manager having a personal budget of £500,000 a year, which equates to having to make £284 an hour in the management role. So we can see that the total cost of the hiring process for 6 candidates for 1 manager is £3,852. Now that figure isn't going to break anyone's bank, but that's really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of turnover. When we start to look at the other costs that are associated with retaining bad hires, the picture goes south really quickly. If the sales guys are paid an average £40,000 salary, you're paying £3,333 a month in salary costs. But this doesn't include any associated benefits like pension, health, or any freebies that they get. If we took a look at how long these poor performance is tolerated in the business before you finally take action, well, it depends. If you've got a tough, no-nonsense culture, this could just be a couple of months. Alternatively, if you're quite permissive and optimistically thinking that things are going to get better, well, things start to really add up. In my experience, poor performers get at least 6 months grace before they leave the company. Probably 1 bad quarter and 1 bad quarter to be performanced out of the business. In reality, in many organisations, this could be 12 months and way beyond. For the purpose of this example, I'm going to use 6 months. The total salary cost of retaining the underperforming salesperson, therefore, is £20,000. Now, when we also think of managing this person during that time, the manager time in this period is effectively wasted. And I would say that a sales manager spends at least an hour per week managing each of their direct reports. With a poor performer, this could be much, much more. We might, as a manager, you're probably keeping a much closer eye on them and are more interventional in your style. But for this example, we'll stick to an hour a week or 4 hours a month. So the average cost of our manager's time is calculated as £36.93 per hour. This is based on a manager's salary of £65,000, working 220 days a year, 8 hours a day. The total cost of managing a poor performer during that 6 months is therefore £886.32. The story doesn't end there, however. Salespeople cost a lot. They've got cars, phones and other infrastructure, and they've got out-of-pocket expenses, travel, accommodation, all that good stuff that goes with the privilege of having a sales role. Depending on your organisation, this could add up to a huge amount, because you could actually say that there are other areas of the business, such as customer service, that have a cost that has to be borne by each salesperson. But in this example, we'll ignore that, and I'm working at the midpoint between the range that I know a medtech sales guy spends in a month. So it's between a minimum of £1,500 and as much as £5,000 a month in expenses. Strangely enough, I've noticed that poor performers tend to be at the higher end of this range because they feel they've got nothing to lose, and maybe the company owes them something. For our example, I'm going to take the midpoint and I'm going to use £2,500 a month as their out-of-pocket additional expenses. Therefore, the total admin cost for underperformers in a 6-month period is £15,000. Now that's quite a big chunk of money, but depending on the size of your business, again, you might not be too worried about that. The real cost of poor performance, however, comes in terms of the opportunity cost lost by the salesperson not achieving organisational objectives. In my experience, I always worked with a target of at least £1 million. It could be significantly higher than that, but that was pretty much the average in medtech sales for a regional sales manager. Now, the level of underperformance that would lead to the removal of a salesperson is very much at the discretion of the management team, but we can probably say that performing at 50% of budget would definitely lead to questions being asked. So, again, for this example, the salesperson is only going to be delivering 50% of their budget. That does mean they're making sales, or at least they're taking orders, but falling significantly short of where it is felt they should be. So that means if we used £1 million target, their monthly budget is £83,300. Delivering 50% of this leaves £41,666 in shortfall. Unfortunately for the organisation, this shortfall is going to be felt every month. And as we're retaining our poor performer for 6 months, the total opportunity cost of keeping them in post is £250,000. So what we can say in this scenario is the total cost of retaining a poor performer is £285,886. And the total cost of replacing them, that's the opportunity cost plus the cost of the hiring process, would bring up total cost to £290,295. Now, in anybody's business, this is a serious chunk of money, but the real picture could be far worse. It could take as much as a year before we replace the incumbent, which would double the figure and would cost your business over £500,000. To make matters worse, a new hire may not be sales effective until late in their first year, significantly adding to the overall opportunity cost of lost sales for our organisation. So it may be best to have a policy where your business hires slow and fires quick. Or maybe the cost of a poor performer just isn't on the radar for your business.